Hi guys, it looks like from a political point of view, Sinn Féin has benefited the most from the ending of the eviction ban in Ireland. So over the last number of months there has been a great deal of pressure applied to the Fianna Fáil Fine Gael coalition government to do more to solve the housing crisis. Sinn Féin, due to its size in opposition, has been the loudest voice when it comes to being critical of the Irish government. The ending of the eviction ban seems to have been a lot less welcome than the Fianna Fáil Fine Gael government had hoped for, at least in the short term. So an interesting result from a poll taken recently is of course more voters backing Sinn Féin, but also a rise in support for Fianna Fáil. What does this mean?
This eviction ban is continuing to have a real impact.
It certainly seems to. Now, we should say that one swallow doesn't make a summer, but certainly the findings of this poll for the Sunday Times by Behaviour and Attitudes are quite striking. Fianna Fáil, the party which holds the housing brief and which ostentatiously really should have taken the brunt of any public damage about the evictions ban, has broadly remained unchanged. It is up 1 point to 21%, but Fine Gael down 9 points to 15%, 8 points, excuse me, in this poll, 15%. 15% is by far the lowest that they've ever had in any of this series of polls from Behaviour and Attitudes. And on the other side, Sinn Féin naturally making hay as a result of the government's difficulties. They're up 5 points in the last month to 37. Now, the drop in the Fine Gael support is quite significant. There is a margin of error of 3.3%. This obviously goes far beyond that. So if there isn't some sort of statistical or sampling issue, then really it would pose very difficult questions for Fine Gael. It may be possible to try and bring up a graph now that we've tried to prepare for our viewers to show people exactly where Fine Gael support has gone since the general election. In that general election, people can see Fine Gael scored just under 21% of the vote in the immediate aftermath of the COVID-19 pandemic, with people praising the government's strong response. It went up as high as 31% in October of 2020. But since then, it has begun to diminish down. Of late, it has been under 20%. The last couple of polls had gone as high up as 23 again, but now people can see in this most recent poll down 8 points to 15%, by far the lowest that they've ever had in any Behaviour and Attitudes poll, and it's not matched by any figure that they've had in any other poll by any other pollster either. Now, one final note which is worth bearing in mind is that these polls by Behaviour and Attitudes are carried out in person. And a lot of opinion polls nowadays aren't carried out in person. They're done online or over the phone. These samplings done in person are usually thought to favour parties like Fine Gael and Fianna Fáil. So the fact that this poll is showing that Fine Gael support is down quite so much is certainly something which will alarm many figures in the party. And they'll be waiting to see whether the next poll, carried out in a similar way, does reflect this again.
Okay, so just to see 15%. This is a massive drop. Now, what's the reason for this? Well, it's probably the housing crisis, of course, being one. Healthcare is a major concern for many people, and of course the cost of living crisis. But housing really, I think, is the one that broke the camel's back here. The ending of the eviction ban was extremely unpopular with the public, and the government are going to take a bloody nose over it. Now, it's interesting how one of the coalition members, Fianna Fáil, is actually benefiting somewhat, but it's probably benefiting at the expense of Fine Gael. Not so much there's more support for Fianna Fáil, but it's coming at the expense of the other coalition member. And I think maybe the voters are tired with the government and they want to change. But Sinn Féin, of course, gaining massive support as a consequence of this. And what would Sinn Féin do in government? Well, that's an interesting question, because Sinn Féin have never been in government in the Republic of Ireland. So they have been pushing for more social housing. They've been pushing for more affordable housing. They said that they would back, if they were in government, they would build more homes. They would increase protections for renters. So these would be very popular policies. When it comes to other issues like healthcare and the cost of living, I am not very familiar with their policies. But particularly on housing, the voters seem to be convinced that Sinn Féin would be on their side, especially if you're renters. But internationally, what would be the reaction to a Sinn Féin government? Well, the British government probably would not be too happy about that, especially Brexiteers. The DUP would explode, probably. But I think Sinn Féin would be quite moderate. They present themselves as a socialist party, but I think they would govern more to the centre than on the left. which would disappoint many people, I believe. But we'll have to wait and see. Let me know in the comment section, guys, what you think about all of this. As always, your comments are greatly appreciated. Thanks a lot.